Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you.
Good. So this morning we're talking about decluttering, which was your choice because you're moving. So you're in the middle of a massive declutter. So I'm going to let you start.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yes. So we're moving in 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. And until this last weekend, until really this last weekend, we hadn't really done anything. We've been in our current house for about 17 years.
Wow.
3 kids, a lot of stuff. And a lot of it had been shoved up into our loft, which isn't like a loft where you can stand up in. It's a loft where you can't stand up. It's not got height space. There's no light in there. There's no ladder, which is bizarre after 17 years. You'd have thought that we might have put a ladder and a light up there. And over the 17 years, we've just very gently just pushed more and more stuff down it. And it's quite long. It's sort of one of those roof spaces. And it has literally been hanging over me, this loft, for not just because we're moving, but for quite a few years now. It's just like not really knowing what's up there, not really being able to get in there. It's just been absolutely rammed full of stuff. And emotionally, it really has felt like I've had this big load on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I think and I think that's the same though with any sort of clutter stuff. And that can be physical stuff. It can be digital stuff. It could be your inbox. It could be your files on your computer. When we just got this sort of stuff hanging over us, which we don't really know what it is, it's just there. It's not bringing us any sort of joy. It could just be in any sort of environment that you're in. It can really obviously affect us physically because it's taking up space, but I think energetically and emotionally, it also takes up a huge amount of space and takes up so much of your bandwidth. And I don't know about you, but I cannot relax in a room if there's just loads of stuff where it shouldn't be and it's a mess. I have to clear it up and just get that sort of mental space and physical space beforehand. So this whole loft project, which I'm so delighted that we finally emptied the loft. We took everything out. We had to do it in 2 phases because we didn't have enough space to put it all. But we have now since emptied the loft, and then the big which was incredible just to know that space was now empty. But then the next step of actually sifting and sorting and going through the stuff,
it's a big deal,
huge challenge, and it took forever. All this weekend I kept getting so distracted because there were so many things in there which had it wasn't just stuff, it had so much emotional attachment to it. I spent a lot of yesterday crying because I kept finding things, because there was stuff from not only my immediate family with the kids, like all their first school books and artwork and all of those sorts of things, but also I had stuff which I had been passed on from my parents, old school reports, old school books, diaries, photographs, because obviously these were the days when, even when we had all 3 of our children, it was really pre-iPhones and that's it. We have boxes and boxes of photographs. So I got so caught up in looking through old photographs, reading old journals, and it was really emotional. And then having to make the decision of what to keep and what to let go of. And I really felt it was really quite a good topic today to talk about, because I think when you're moving on to something new, and this is for all of us, if we want to bring in new stuff into our life, we have to let go of the old. We have to make space for that. It's very difficult to change or to move forward when we're still clinging on to the old, because energetically it's just like it's very hard to make that step forward. So, and I know that when I've done any sort of coaching, and I remember one of the first things we got taught in my health coaching training was you set your goals, but then with your clients, it's really a bit like, what do you need to let go of before you can move forward? And so, gosh, it was really such a reminder of all of that, and a big lesson of just, what are we holding on to? What are we clinging on to? And, we can obviously maybe talk about some of those tips about how to let go, because I've really struggled with that this weekend. But I suddenly got much better at it as time went on, because I realised I couldn't take all this stuff with me.
Yeah. It's huge, isn't it? And can I just say, by the way, there is no way you would catch me dead in a loft with no light that hasn't been touched for 17 years because of the spider situation. I don't have a boyfriend, so I would have to hire somebody to go up, and I can't. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it.
Well, can I just say that when we were in our loft, we have them. Well, there were no real spiders. We have a ridiculous amount of dressing up, fancy dress stuff, which was all scattered through loft. But Giles kept finding these plastic spiders, which obviously had been part of some Halloween-y type thing. And he was up there chucking things down, and he just kept chucking down the spiders at me. Which made me scream every single time.
I literally I can't even handle it. If I even see a picture of a spider, I just am so terrified of them, which you obviously are as well. But no, it's a whole thing, isn't it? Decluttering. But I think it's really important to remember how incredible you feel when you've done it, and it feels like such a weight off. I'm talking. First of all, I'm going to just talk a little bit about physical decluttering, and then I just want to talk a little bit about digital decluttering and mental decluttering, because as you know, my studio is tiny. I've lived in it for 11 years, and it's literally a studio. So I moved from a flat in Shepherd's Bush, where I'd been living with a boyfriend, like a really good size 1-bed flat where I'd lived for several years. I had all of my stuff. Then I moved from there into a friend's house, into a room in her house. And at that point, I did a load of decluttering. And then when I bought my studio, then I did a whole load more decluttering. And so the funny thing is, and basically in the last few years, we happen to have, where I live in a huge, massive, great, very unusual Victorian, massive house with 11 flats in it. And basically, sometime during the COVID years, oh God, someone's just written a comment about a spider. I have a spider in my bathroom. I named her Charlotte. Oh my God, Charlotte's Web. But no, during COVID, we had a skip outside our house. And so I ended up having another phase of decluttering. And my point is that I have now got hardly any possessions. Like literally, you wouldn't believe how little stuff I have. And as you know, I'm currently renting my flat out for a year, and I've moved boxes down to Dorset, which is where I'm living at the moment, although I'm currently in London. Very confusing. Anyway, point is, I now have so few possessions. It seems crazy. I have clothes, I have books. I still can't throw away CDs. That's the one thing I refuse to throw away, is all of my CDs. I just refuse at the moment anyway. And I have to say, it is so liberating to not have very much stuff. And the funny thing is, also, when it comes to being, because I got really, really ruthless when I was decluttering my flat during lockdown a couple of times when we had this skip. And I ended up being so ruthless. Oh my God, the thumbs up thing's happened again. Have you got that on your screen? So weird. But I ended up I mean, I've never read Marie Kondo, but I obviously know that her whole kind of thing is, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. The things that I think are the hardest for us to get rid of are the things that we're sentimentally attached to. And I can be very, very, very sentimental about things. But I got so fucking ruthless, and I ended up just chucking away everything apart from the things that really, really, really mean something to me, like really, really, truly. And so, yeah, it's actually the funny thing that I've noticed is all of those things. Like, for example, I had clothes that I've had since I was 13 that don't even freaking fit me anymore, and that I haven't worn for years. And I got this new rule of, like, Lucy, if you have not worn this for a year or 2 years, it's going. So I chucked all of these clothes out. I was like, oh my god, I just feel so emotional. The funny thing is, you don't miss these things. We think we're going to miss them, but as soon as you chuck them out, you literally forget about them. And it's such an amazing feeling. And like you said, we have to free up space for other stuff to come into our lives. We have to free up that space. So that's the kind of physical aspect from my point of view. But mentally, and doing a sort of a mental and digital declutter as well is as important, I think. I mean, things like, clearing up your social media feed. This is such a big one. When was the last time you went through who you are following and got rid of the people that either don't make you feel bad or don't align with your life anymore, or you're just not really interested, you're not really getting anything out of, look through your feed and see who you're following that just isn't making you feel good, and just get rid. Because we end up that in itself, it's taking up bandwidth. It's like inboxes. I am obsessive about my inbox. I cannot stand it. I have to go through emails. Like, I have to go through emails, relatively quickly. Like, I can't leave an unread email in my inbox for more than 2 or 3 days. It gives me a freaking panic attack. I can't bear it. And I always have to get down. I have a certain number of emails in my inbox that are kind of always there. And anything above this particular email has to go. So I always have to kind of come back to this same set point. And but sometimes I think with our inboxes, we forget that we end up filling up, like, our deleted items or our sent items. All of those things, files, things like, I download podcasts all the time. I end up with loads of downloaded podcasts that I've already listened to. They sit on my phone. And sorry, there's a very loud car outside the window. I don't know, can you hear that? It's very loud. Anyway, sorry if you can. But yeah, so things like clearing out your deleted items in your inbox, clearing out the sent items, sort of unsubscribe from newsletters that you never read. I mean, I have so many newsletters that I get that I actually never read. So it's things like that we can, that they're taking up our bandwidth and we don't even know it. So that is another whole area that you can declutter. And also things like decluttering your mental space. Like, what are you doing in your life that needs to go? Who are you still hanging out with? Who are you still spending time with? Who doesn't make you feel good? All of this stuff we need to kind of, as much as we can, as sensitively as we can, declutter all of that as well. Boundaries, all of those things. It's all taking up our precious bandwidth. And whilst things that we don't want and that are not doing us any good are taking up our bandwidth, we are blocking other things that we want to come into our lives, Yeah.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you. Yeah, everything you said, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And everything you said, though, also gave me slight heart palpitations because I'm like, so I'm the same with you, like my inbox, I have to go through all of my emails and clear them. But at the same time, what I do, and it's crazy, what I have most days is I have so much junk emails, but so I just delete them all every day. And then I go through little phases of unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. But the problem is, there's so many that actually always, like, just now I was like, oh my gosh, I've really just got more and more to unsubscribe from. And it's a massive task. Instagram, again, I've started going through the process of all the people I follow or all people and trying to clear it up. But you know, when it gets to a certain size, and it again, it's just a real time consuming
It is.
process. So I'm really trying because it does make me feel slightly overwhelmed when I'm even thinking about clearing it all up.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is just literally 3 emails a day, try and unsubscribe from, literally go into my Instagram, try and do it as often as I possibly can, just go through the top people who I'm not, you know, and just go and try and unsubscribe. And it is a real process and it does feel
Yeah.
quite overwhelming. But I suppose it's just really looking at the long game rather than the immediate game. In the immediate, what you can do, which always makes you feel good, is go to that really messy drawer. We have one, I mean, everyone has one, I'm sure, in the kitchen or wherever, which is literally it's spilling over. It's all the stuff which you never know where to put. And so you shove it in the messy drawer. And if you clear that up, that's like one small action you can actually take. And you just feel so, just notice how you feel after you've done that small action, how cleansing it feels, how good it feels, how much space it gives you. So I think it's good to kind of try and do both, bear that in mind by doing those small actions so that when you've got those more like mammoth tasks, such as your emails and your social media, just by doing a little bit every day, it's going to eventually lead to you feeling much clearer. Because it can feel huge,
Yeah.
and also just like your files on your computer, you know that I did that relatively recently. I had a massive clear up. I had things all over the place, but actually just categorizing everything really nice and clearly, so you can find things. My husband, honestly, if on his laptop he saves everything to his desktop. I don't know how he does it. On his phone as well, he's got everything everywhere. So I'm very good on my phone. I kind of put everything into, like, I know exactly where everything is on my phone, so I can find things quickly. If you can't find a file and you don't know where to go to, or you don't know where to find an app, how much time are you wasting? How much energy are you wasting your day just
Yeah.
by looking? I mean, it just feels it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So it does ultimately, by streamlining all of these things, it really ultimately is going to just make you feel so much just calmer and clearer. And I would also say, on all of this, one of the other things which I honestly think we don't do enough as a, you know, generally, is what you and I know really prioritize, and that is just giving yourself some time every single morning to clear and declutter your very busy mind, because we all have very, very busy minds.
Yeah.
And unless we intentionally set aside sometimes, and it can be literally 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be that long, but obviously the longer you can give it, the greater the impact it's going to have on your day. But just by having a little bit of time each day to intentionally get some mental space, some mental clarity, to get that feeling of just so that you, because if your mind is so busy all the time and just whizzing, you're not going to ever be able to have that space. There's no space for more creativity. There's no space for clear thinking. So that is something I just think nobody gives enough priority to, and that's something which in my membership, Just Breathe, which I'm thinking I might rename, but anyway, that's what we do 3 times a week. It just gives you that mental clarity.
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah.
It's so important. And yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot, and you know, both of us prioritize it. I mean, you know, I took, and the thing is, I'm lucky because I don't have kids, I don't have a boyfriend, so it's just me. So I've got the time, probably more time than many people, to take that time in the morning. But like you said, it doesn't have to be an hour and a half. It can be 15 minutes. 15 minutes just sitting, either doing some breath work or doing some meditation is so much better than nothing. And it's amazing how, and I won't talk about this in detail because this is very much your thing, but it's amazing how much just 10 or 15 minutes worth of just, you know, 5 minutes of intentional breathing makes a difference and does clear your mind. I just want to, someone's just said, there is a documentary on Netflix called The Minimalists. It's a very interesting watch. Well, funnily enough, Netflix is one of the things that I decluttered out of my life. So I no longer subscribe to Netflix, but I'll have to watch it on someone else's computer. But thank you for that. One thing I wanted to say, Polly, that you mentioned right at the very beginning of this, which is, you can't work in a mess. And I'm the same. I have to have, and especially when you live in a very small space, you get used to it just being so anally tidy, which I am. And but one thing when it comes to decluttering, not so much decluttering, but clearing. Like if you are working, for example, on a desk that is just covered in shit, if you are going into a bedroom that has just got, clothes all over the floor and all the rest of it. And I know some of us are more tidy than others, completely, but I think we don't necessarily realize how much just having, for example, a messy desk is impacting us. It's impacting the way that we feel. If we can't even find our pen, or we can't find our phone charger because it's just under this pile of stuff, it's taking up that bandwidth. And although it's, supposedly kind of low level, when you've got lots and lots of little things like that taking up your bandwidth, that's taking up a hell of a lot of space in your brain. So if you are one of those people who tends to have a bit of a messy desk, maybe consider just having a real clear out of your desk, because the difference that you feel when you sit down to work, well, then that's, whether it's your home office or your home desk, or the space that in your home that you work in, or your office, your work office, whichever. I think it's just really worth having a complete clear out of that. And that's such an easy thing to do, because you can just take 10 or 15 minutes to just clear your desk, and it's going to really impact the way that you feel. It's going to impact the way that you work. Because it's just all of these things taking up that bandwidth in our mind. So I think it's, and going back to what you were saying about doing it little bit by little bit, absolutely. You can spend half an hour one evening tidying up your bedroom. You can spend half an hour the next day tidying up your desk. You can just do it bit by bit by bit, but all of those little bits, it's going to accumulate to make a really big difference to how you feel. I love what you say about Giles's desktop. I was like that. My desktop literally was, my screensaver is like several different quotes that I have. So I've got a picture of the river in Richmond, and I've got like a load of quotes. That is my backdrop, my whatever you call it. But I literally couldn't see it because it was covered in all of these things that were saved to my desktop. And if anyone else does that, all you've got to do is just create a couple of folders and just put things into those folders. And just the act of doing that is going to make a difference to how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have nothing on my desktop. I like to have my desktop completely clear, and sometimes automatically. So I have them all in different folders. So I automatically, sometimes things get saved to my desktop, and I'm like, oh, I can't have it. I like to have, again. It's just how things make you feel. If you feel that feeling of overwhelm, a little bit of anxiety, I just think having sort of space just automatically calms your nervous system and gives you that space to breathe. I must admit, my next task with this moving, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff, but I'm very good at organizing the stuff into, behind cupboard doors, so I don't have to see it. And actually, if you open any of my closed cupboard drawers, they are a mess. They're a complete mess, but I don't have to see them. And I go through phases of, then I'll tidy them up, and then it gets really messy again. So I have got still a huge amount of decluttering to do, because I'm just thinking about my wardrobe is bad. There's things in there I've probably not worn for 20 years. So that's going to be my project this week. I'm going to try and do a little bit every day. I think it's also, if you look at it from the point of view that there'll be certain things, the Marie Kondo thing is like, does it give you joy? So if it still gives you joy, you keep it. If it doesn't, then give it to you can give it to somebody else. You can send it to charity. You can recycle it. And so I love this idea of kind of putting things back into circulation. Again, it's like, it's the abundance mindset. It's rather than clinging on to things and holding it tight. It's like, no, let's just put it back into circulation. It's like money, everything's always moving. You don't want to cling on to it for dear life. So That is my project this week of like, oh, someone else, it's like, well, I might want this, but actually someone else might like it even more than me. So
good
I'm going
idea.
to move it forward.
Good idea. Yeah, also, one other thing that can be really difficult to declutter is things that people have given you. And this is really tough because this is a guilt thing. It's that, guilt is just, ugh. And one example I have of this is a friend of mine from many years ago who I'm on and off in touch with painted me a picture years ago, because I had seen something else that she had painted and I absolutely loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I love that so much. And she was like, I'll do you. And I was like, awesome. And when she gave it to me, I unwrapped it in front of her and I fucking hated it. I hated it. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, it's not as nice as the other one. It was like, I actually find this offensive and there is no way that I'm putting this up in my flat. It was just, it didn't bear any resemblance to the original painting that she'd done that I absolutely loved. It was completely different. Didn't like the colours, didn't like anything about it. Anyway, long story short, I kept it for years, but I didn't put it out. I didn't put it up in my flat. And I would tend to go to her house in the Cotswolds rather than her coming to mine. So I managed to get away with not having it up on a wall in my flat. Anyway, I kept this fucking thing in my flat. Sounds awful, doesn't it? Kept it for years and years and years. And then eventually I thought, Lucy, this is definitely not bringing you joy. You are keeping this out of guilt. Get rid of it. So I did. And I threw it away. Isn't that awful? But actually, how many things have we been given that just aren't, aren't our cup of tea? And if it's not your cup of tea, I could have given it away to somebody else, but I didn't. I think actually because it was personalised, I think I have my name on it somewhere. But that is an example of me being really, really ruthless and just getting rid of something that I just didn't want it in my life. So I wasn't gonna keep hold of it for the rest of my life out of guilt and feeling bad when I wasn't even using it anyway. It wasn't even on display. It was literally, in fact, when I lived in the house that I lived in before I bought my flat, it was in the attic for like 2 years in the attic. Anyway, so do not feel bad about getting rid of stuff that people give you that you don't like. Reminds me of an uncle of mine years and years ago. Every single Christmas, my uncle, who's now dead, and such a sweetie, but he used to give me and my brother and sister presents every Christmas that were just awful presents. Like, we never liked them. They were just always like completely way off the mark. It's like, oh my God. And things like that. Why are we keeping them?
Yeah. What I found, the things I found most difficult to decide what to do with, because things like that, I'm actually quite good at just going, no.
Are you?
Sorry, I can get rid of that. Yeah, so those sorts of things I'm good. For me, it's more those sentimental things. Like, I really struggled with. There was just an enormous amount of artwork and kind of all the primary school books of all 3 children. So if you think there's 7 years, including reception of school books, I hadn't thrown any of them out. They were all up in the loft, and that was taking up a huge amount of space. And I had made the decision initially, no, I can't do it, because they might want to look back one day and it's like a real reflection of, it's them growing up. Anyway, I saw a friend at the weekend and she was like, let it go, Polly. Are they going to want to look back at their maths book when they're kind of 2? And I was like, no, probably not. I don't think they ever would. Would I want to do that? So actually, I've kept one book, their final kind of year 6 book, and the rest of it I've got rid of. I've let all of it go, and that was really hard.
But I bet it won't keep you up at night.
No, I don't think it will. Exactly. So it's, but I had to. It took about 2 days to get to that decision. Initially, it was like, no, I'm not going to do it. So it's actually, sometimes it's a bit of a process. You've got to kind of come to terms with the fact it's like, I'm going to have to let that go, and because it's just going to go back into another loft. I'm not going to be seeing it. No one's going to be benefiting from it. It's just stuff. Ultimately, It's just stuff. Having said that, though, there were parts of my life which I have kept on to. So there's all the different jobs I've had through my life. There was like my portfolio when I used to work in PR, and it was like all the best bits of things I had done and some photographs. And actually, I kept that because that was kind of like, oh, actually, one day actually I might want to look back and reflect on all the things I did there. There was, I don't know, there were a few small things about some of the achievements I had through different careers and sort of documenting that. So I have held on to those. I don't know if I should or not, but they're not going to take up a huge amount of space that I've kept those. But it's so fascinating. It was been a real process of reflecting on my whole life, because then I was looking at photographs from, all the different boyfriends I had before Giles, all the different places I had lived. I had been from school to uni to after uni. And so the whole thing has been very emotional, but really, it's been amazing. It's a really brilliant thing to do. And I do think for sometimes that's why it's good to hold on to like parts of those bits of your life, because it's nice to sort of reflect back and go, oh, yes, I've done all that. So, yes.
Well,
anyway, still more to go.
Huh?
Still more to go. I've not done yet. But yes, it's good to talk about these things. And I think it's good. It's really good just generally in life, as we've talked about today, to really think about, what are you holding on to which you don't need to be holding on to? Actually, what can you let go of to create more space for the things that you want?
Exactly. Space for the good stuff to come in. Well, we've gone 2 minutes over, Polly. How shocking.
Well, thank you everyone who's been watching, and let us know any thoughts or comments you may have.
Exactly, but we'll be back this time next week.
We will be.
All right, love. Have a good day. Lots of love. Bye. Bye.